Yeah. Can you people hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I think let us put our mics on the in this mode. That is fine, I think, because we will. I want to conduct this session as a just how we discuss that one, and if we keep asking questions in between, I think that will be much more encouraged by me.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, and now let me. Can anyone guide me how it is possible to share my laptop screen while you are in the broadcast mode? I have.
Hover on the left,
Okay,
and there
that
will be a
is.
green icon.
There will be green icon. Okay, 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 okay. I got it, got it, got it. So I'm putting entire screen,
Yes.
and let me do some research before that one. Yeah. Okay. So are you people able to observe my slides on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So the topic is the token-based authentication system using JWT. If we observe the JWT, JWT stands for JSON Web Token, and there are I think plenty of libraries available in which you can implement JWT in your preferred programming languages. This is my profiles. This is my little bit description. So I am the full stack developer. Probably you can find me over this GitHub IDs. JSHO2 is the GitHub ID of my previous employer, and then there is one Twitter handler of JSingP. You can tweet just now. It is much more encouraged. I do have the IRC nick also with the name of the Big J, so you can directly ping me. I sometimes I available, sometimes not. That depends on the situation. And don't hesitate to mail me over the jsingp@gmail.com. So this is me. Once I start describing my profile. So yeah, this is my expression. Video is not turned on, but you can say this is similar to me. Okay. Before beginning, I think yeah, it's the very much encouraged. It is very much encouraged to ask the questions anytime during the session. So any questions you have, you can ask by interrupting me. I'll be answering your questions, and that will having a nice conversation. What I believe. As we know, there are two types of authentication system. One is the session or so-called cookie-based authentication system, and another is the token authentication system. So these two are most popular authentication system. Normally, people do use session and or the cookie-based authentication system more. The reason is that it is best for the web browsers, and when you want to have the session with your user, and that session is got resumed when user is coming back to your portal, and that situation is very appropriate. And another one is the token based authentication. In the token based authentication, normally it will start with one token, and that token will be preserved by your client, and that token will be sent it to the every request to the with every request by the client. So this diagram, are you able to see the diagram?
Yes.
Okay. So this diagram is explaining the session based authentication system. Here, by means of client, it is on the first arrow. hope you are able to see my cursor also. This arrow, this is the first initial stage, and then after it is back from the server. So this is how client will request to server, and what it will do, let me explain. So in the session based authentication system, first user will say this is my username and password. It will send it to the server. Server will put one query to database, and they will say, okay, this is username and password, whether it is true or wrong. If it is true, database will say, okay, this username and password is correct. Server will generate one session storage for the client, and that session storage is normally maintained into the RAM, or there are plenty of other options also, but normally people keep that particular part into the RAMs. And then the server will send, or rather first it will generate a session ID, and that session ID is sent back to the client. Now client will store that session ID into the cookie, and that cookie will be then preserved. So every time after that particular initial stage, client will get that session ID and send it to server. Server will identify that particular client with the session ID, and then it will resume that session storage to here. So this is not limited with the one client. So any number of clients that follows the same process. Points to remember is this session storage. Now this session storage is not encouraged. Why? Because normally I have seen if the developer is unaware, what they do is they are making some Angular app or something else. They put their Angular app into the wrapper of session, right? And that session wrapper is like when we send that particular request from the Angular, it is under the session wrapper. So all the requests got authenticated already. And that is very much wrong methodology. So when you have your Angular app or a so-called any other JavaScript app, you should not put the barrier of session. It should be splitted out. So your Angular app will be deployed to something else, someone else URL. Your backend server should be on another URL, and you put a cross-domain request in between them. That should be the encourage design model. Why? The reason is that Angular is not aware with the session, and they don't want to use the session, right? And there are some other disadvantages also with the session. So are you having doubt in this diagram? Any of you?
Not really.
Not really. Okay. Dhawan, you?
You said you spoke about differentiating between the backend
Token.
deployment router and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the front end, right? So
Yeah.
I think what happens if we have both of them on the same URL is that browser itself will handle the session headers, I suppose. Cookie and set cookie are the two headers used to handle the sessions, right?
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think browser automatically gets those headers, and then backend can authenticate using it. So I don't know why.
yes. Why? That is a very nice question. Why? Let me come to this particular point. The first reason. So this is how it will behave on the load, right? Why? This is the I will answer you. But when we say session on the load, it means very much load. It behaves
Hmm.
like this, right? There are pretty of much more advantageous way to particular handle a large amount of session, but this is the main difference, that when you have the application of like Android and your Angular, and you do not require a session. Reason is that your client is not able to understand the session, right? So Angular is designed for cross domain. So once you are creating cookie, Angular will be able to find that particular cookie, and then they will say find the session ID manually, and they will send back that session ID, and then you identify the client. That is very wrong, because you maintain a session storage in a RAM that is useless. Because if you are having a REST API, REST means every request can be identical. It's like a simple HTTP, right? Where we do not want to tell that which request is from which. Okay, we only rely on the authentication, while session will keep those particular storage. So in your RAM, when it is like when you are having a 10 or one some amount of 50 clients, okay, you will not realize. But once you reach at some high level, useless thing will keep, you have to increase your RAM, because it will assign a session storage, and that can be very problematic, right? That is the main reason to not use session wrapper, because it is not required. Once you are using a load balancer, I think it's like you have to do some more precaution for sharing your session storage.
Yeah, with load
So
balancer, it is a problem. True.
yeah, that is the main problem. And on the REST API is the very much nice approach to balance the load. And that is the main, I think, advantage to use a token based authentication and any other type of authentication. But here the session is also not appropriate, I have said, for cross domain requests. So session ID you have to fetch and you have to do it, that is not required. uh, and one another process already will be there on the server, which will actually transfer your session storage if it is not longer from some time to some your SSD or some another one, and then when you are coming back it will resume that particular session.
Hmm.
So this is how I will say session is not proper for your REST API, or when you have the client in Angular and Android. So now it's clear that why session is not proper, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so that is how the birth of token-based authentication system came. It is not that this one, but there are also another advantages of token-based authentication system. Like I think I prefer that for scaling, token-based is very nice approach, because you can already use or authenticate client with some various servers or load balancer also. You will be able to, because you do not have to uh, strict to one specific session storage. It's like you can transfer the user to any of the servers. No cookie and CSRF protection also. So normally, if we are aware that that protection is very much useful for cross-domain attacks, cross-site scripting attacks. So if you are not dealing with cookie, I think, yeah, this is the best, and by default it is giving you the protection against the CSRF. And yeah, for API authentication also, I think your client has to just deal with the, yeah. So we can say token and session ID both are same for client, but for server it is making a huge difference, right?
Hmm.
So do
Compare it.
you mean, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah, yeah.
but do you mean the token-based authentication has built-in protection for cross-site request forgery, or
What I believe is that when normally it is depend for we do cross-site request forgery for the cookies, right? Because that cookie is having it got accessed, then it will be possible that someone can resume that particular or break that particular one attack, right? But once you are not dealing with that one token, then you are fine. I mean,
that that's not quite true, because if you're not sending a CSRF token, then anyone can basically create a new request and it would seem genuine, right?
anyone
You
can
can,
create. Yeah, that is, but how I am observing that particular part, it's like once you are having a cookie, right? And the main, you are talking about the man in the middle, right? Because this attack based on the man in the
yeah.
middle. Okay, so
Uh,
that is, yeah.
it doesn't need to be main in the middle, right? It's just some okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and main in the middle. And one more thing, if you are talking that some JavaScript will be loaded in between, and then it will get access to that particular part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then also I think your browser will provide that securities, because that local storage of your browser is will be restrict if something
Yeah.
is from outside URL, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And for that particular reason, I think it will be protected for that side also.
Mm-hmm.
And no, normally I found that session are designed for some long time. They keep activated and get resumed from long time. But here, once you destroy that particular token, right? So you destroy your token with a very short period of time, then it is making a lot more sense to get structured or get secured, right? So once you're
Mm-hmm.
destroying, it means it's over, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And now uh, the session based is comparatively so token based comparatively puts less load on your server, because they don't want to put one process on uh, your session storage maintenance and your another maintenance and your you can say one process which will constantly observing that authentication and doing this particular thing. For load balancer it is nice, but I observed, let us see how a Django REST framework is having a one by default module for token based authentication system. And let me highlight that what are the faults in normal token based authentication system. There is one more advantage I will find. Session is quite nice, but in the token also, once you want to provoke the access, right? And suppose you have some deployment server that only you want to allow a read-only access. For example, you are making some website like GitHub or some other, you have cloned Git and you are maintaining your own Git server. Now your deployment server should only be having access of read only, right? So for that one, you will say this is the token and give it to the your deployment server. When request is coming with that particular token, you are not allowing to write. You are only allowing to read. Now that is, I think, not that much frequently possible, or very with very some hard effort possible with the session storage, right? So here, process like that is also happen. You can easily maintain with that particular token. You can already destroy that particular token if you want to revoke the access, and we all deal with that kind of scenario, right? We will come to OAuth point in the next couple of slides, and I also have a very strong point that where OAuth is not appropriate and where JWT is appropriate. But I think, yeah.
Can
So
you also think of Kerberos authentication?
I have never heard the name of that. Will you explain or elaborate? I will be able to see how it works.
Actually, it is a huge document. I will send links, and then we may be able to talk later.
Okay, that is fine. But I do not have, and I never heard, I think, that kind of authentication.
Oh,
Okay, so this is the example of normal token based authentication system I have tried. So here is the user Raj, and user Raj is having the username Raj and password is R123. Okay, and okay, I got a call from Saurav. So let me. Yeah, Saurav. Okay, 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 okay. So we are on the live. We are live. So if you want to join, you can join directly. Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So Saurav will join in few minutes. Let us start. So here the user is Raj and he is having the password R123. Okay, and by this monitor It's you can assume your Android app or iOS app or your Angular app or React app, any app which is here, and this your Android or so-called Angular app will directly transfer your username and password to server. This big big CPU is the server that will put one request to your database first, that whether this username and password is right or wrong. It is right, then it will generate a token. Normally, I have seen, we will also see a standard module of Django REST framework. We generate a random value because we think that it is unpredictable and that gives us more security, right? So here we assume that token based authentication system generate a random value, and that random value is we keep one table normally. So this this round is what we can say. This is the database, right? The last part. So you can assume this is the database engine where we, after generating that particular token, we keep one table, I think, because one is the username, second is the token, and we put some create time or we put some expiration time as third column, right? To identify that whether the token, when the token will be expired or not. So this is simple scenario. Token is 90A and server is instructing that store this particular token, and the database is telling okay 90A is stored for the user Raj. Now server is again now forwarding back that request to your Angular or Android app that 90 is the token, store it. Now user is again coming back on a second stage that update my age from 19 to 21. So this is update query. Now what Angular or Android app do? They will fetch that particular token because they have stored in their local or session storage. By means of session storage, it's just name. Okay, in the browser, if you are aware with the API of the browser, there are two browser storage API. Third is cookie, but session, local, and cookie, I think. So here, it will get that particular token and into the request with the header authorization. That okay, sorry, yeah, into the header of authorization, they will append that particular token. So 90A is updated. How actually the request will look, it's like update the Raj age of Raj from 19 to 21. Authentication token is 90A. This is how your app will send a request to server. Now server want to verify that whether the token is valid or not. So they will again put a query to your database, and that database will be observed in your token table. User it is equal to this table and expiry date is less than 2 days or something, right? If it is, the token is valid, server will, the database will get back to your server that yes, token is valid, and then server will put one another request for updating. That is not in the diagram, but for explanation, I will say that will put another update query. Once the record is updated, server will come back to your Android app and tell that the age is updated. Okay. So this is, and then user will say, okay, this is updated. So if we can observe on the third line, crudence, it means the create, read, update, and delete, right? So with every create, read, update, and delete methodology, I mean, so every request, the our Android or Angular app has to send a token to your server, and for every create, read, update, delete record, the server will send a request to your database, and database will come back and server will come back as a done, right? So this is not making sense because with for identifying the token that whether it is right or wrong, the server, our Angular or Android app is dependent on database, right? And they don't know that whether the token is valid by time, who is responsible for what. So for example, I have just mentioned the example of Android app, sorry, the GitHub server. and we have some deployment server. So the deployment server don't know that what is my role, for what I am accessible for. And when that token is passed to the server have to observe to the database that is the user who is giving me this token is able to write or able to read for that, checking that particular permission, right? And that is how I will see that the token is like a black box. Neither Android or Angular app, neither server know that whether it is valid, what information it is containing, and what are the expiration time, for example. This is how a normal token based authentication is. It will not put a load, but yeah, I will say when you touch database with every request, with every token, I think it is making sense to have something which is more sensible and put a less load than this also to your server. Do we have any kind of doubts in this particular thing?
See, I could argue about having a black box as a more secure thing, but I wouldn't because it seems wrong from many points. So, no real
Yes.
questions really.
Okay, so you argue that having a black box is wrong, right? It is the
It's
same
a
or?
wrong thing, yes, yeah. It's like saying we use some cryptographic algorithm and we
Hmm.
won't tell you what algorithm that is. So it will take forever for you to reverse engineer it,
No, no,
which
no.
is wrong. So which is wrong. Instead,
Mm,
you make it open and then
mm,
show that it is not breakable.
yeah. So this is how, like, yeah, that is true that you think that is which algorithm you are using is making more secure way. Uh, yeah, but I think in the JWT probably you can tell that this is the information
Yes, that
without
is the thing. Yes.
without also telling that which algorithm you are using, because the header part, let we will explain that particular part, but the header part algorithm parameter is optional. If you keep blank, it is highly
Mhm.
acceptable, right? So you will just say this is my payload without telling that which algorithm you are using for signing,
Mhm.
right? So this is like how it is highly related with your uh, information, that okay, I am giving you this is the information, but I have signed with what? I think I have got a ping with the Saurav probably. Just a minute. Uh, okay. Okay. So this is how it is problematic, and let us see the example how Django REST framework behaves with the normal token based authentication system. So this is the REST framework. Okay, and authentication is having one model named token. So because of its ORM, that token is very similar to a table. So what it is, like token.objects.create. Create means it will create a new record to your table. It is accepting a username, so whatever user you are, and it will give you back the token. Okay, we will print the token. This is you have to append in your so-called views. So MVC views, right? Whatever we design in a view, this is how on a first request we will transfer this part to the we will transfer this particular token to the your client. And after that words, your client will send this man is keep annoying. So after this, the client has to send this token as a authorization, and then we keep some token as a parameter. Bearer is also one another
Yes.
popular term, and this is the token generated by this one. So let us so this is very simple, right? With the
Hmm.
header, authorization is the header parameter, and we send the token. And with every request, the client will send to get authenticated. Now, this is the code of that particular model. Let us see what it is doing. First, it is creating one column key. Okay, and key is the length of this one. Then it is the one-to-one relationship with your user table. So in Django, we have some pretty much nice auth.user model, which gives all the predefined user functionality. So this is the relation with that one, auth.user model, right? And created is date and time field. So when it is created, it will automatically generate that kind of create date parameters. After, you can see class meta is not required, but we can see save. So this method will be called when actually the object is created. We will see. So if you can observe, this method is most for us. Uh, First is it is checking that whether the record is having key or not. Okay, so for very first record, the key parameter will be blank, right? So it will call self.generateKey method, which is here. So this generate key method, if we can observe, Bina ASCII is one more function of the Exify is a one more function, but os.urandom20. Are you able to see that highlighted part?
Yes.
So what it means is that it is generating random value for 20 characters, and that is sent it to here as a token, and it is stored to your key as a token, and it is coming back. So when I call this token.object.create, it will ask for user, so which is active user into the table, and it will put a current created time and date, and key is the means token is actually 20 random characters. So is it making sense that when you this is the standard, you can observe this
Hmm.
particular code onto your GitHub repo, Django REST framework token auth. So this is not appropriate from my side because random value is unguessable. That is true. It is also giving security, but we have some another way which is giving pretty much as security, is very much comparatively, or we can say even more than that particular security from the token based authentication with describing the required parameters, right? So this is how this token based authentication system is. Seriously, I mean, because that random value, we can see that, okay, what it is actually, how it behaves for your Angular or Android app. It's like, ah. So yeah, do we have any questions with this one? Is Mr.
Yeah.
Polra here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, okay. I was thinking you left. That's why.
No,
Saurav, join.
I
Saurav.
I don't think so. I cannot see him. I have a question actually.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
So I have seen that once this session token is generated,
No
some
session token,
systems,
not session token.
yeah,
Session ID will generate, but token.
yeah, okay. So the token is generated,
Mm.
and some systems also encrypt the token, which is to say encrypt the cookies. I don't know why that is done.
It might be possible. Uh, I don't think you are telling about the hexifying the token, right?
No, not
Or
exactly.
base URL, base 64 URL. That is also not.
Not very sexy. I'll
Okay,
have to check
so
what it means to encrypt actually. But
okay, I think I think they are putting more load, unnecessary load on the server.
Yeah,
That is
it
what I.
gets longer, like really long.
Yeah, because you do not have to encrypt it, right? Why you
I
will
see.
encrypt it?
Yes.
Uh, so, okay, let us move forward to our main topic. And this is how I observe that it is like a problems and problems and problems everywhere. Because our we got a pretty nice, less, comparatively less loaded token based authentication system, but it is making no sense for our Angular clients, no sense for our Android clients or any other clients. And our server also is dependent on the database for authenticating every request, putting a role, or we can say even classifying the or identifying the use of that particular, right? So this is how I found a solution, that is JWT. Into the RFC 7519, it is clearly written that you have to say it jot. So I do not know, but probably when you say JWT, you have to say jot, right? So guys, let us understand what the jot is. So I think yeah, how jot I don't know. So JWA is another standard which is JSON Web Encryption. So we have to say JA or JSON Web algorithm. Sorry, JSON Web
Okay.
algorithm. So JSON Web A or something like yeah, JSON JWS means JOS maybe. So yeah. So this is yeah, RFC 7519 is for JSON Web Token. You can directly observe them. There are also JSON Web Encryption, JSON Web Signature, JSON Web Algorithm. Yeah, these are a couple of other standards. So JWT JOT stands for JSON Web Token. So by means of JSON, your so-called JavaScript, Angular, or your Android also will be able to understand it. And it is having three parts. First is the header, second is the claim set, and third is the signature. So header part is the first part in which we have type and algorithm. We will come to that particular part. Claim set part is where we will define all the required information. And third part is the signature part. Now signature part is the main part which will give us the signature, right? Every part, for example, header, claim set, and signature is wrapped under the base64 URL. So by means of base64 URL, I do not know, but I have heard that the when we say any binary data is getting transferred between your servers, it is possible that it is get corrupted or attenuated at some point with some browser or some another sorry, the modem, because it's on the network, right? So by hexifying them, we will be able to preserve the binary format, and that is, I think, very much common, right?
Yeah, well, the main reason I think is that HTTP was designed to use ASCII characters, right, initially,
Yeah, yeah,
and so it's just safe if everything is in ASCII rather than in funny
yeah.
binary formats.
Yes. So yeah. So by means yeah, that is true. And when once we are hexifying that particular site, means it gives some pretty nice way to transfer your token between server and client, and we can trust that this is not modified or corrupted. Okay. So here now we will see that again same token based mechanism, but with the use of JWT. So process start with the initial stage, which is what is my username? It is Raj. Password, it is R123. Again, monitor is your Angular or Android app. They will just transfer that username password to server. Now server will put one request to database. It is not described here. one request to database, and it will tell that whether the username and password is right or wrong, right? And database will say, okay, this username and password is right. Server will generate a token. Rather than storing it to database, you can see there is no error. So server will not store it to database. That token will be transferred back to the Android or Angular app, whatever it is, that this is your token, 908, keep it up. Now, the Android or Angular app will keep that particular token with their storage. So here, observable part is that server is not storing anything to database. You can see, okay? Oh, you can see. Now, on the second stage, when user is coming and it is telling that update my age from 19 to 21, okay, and this server, sorry, this Android app is fetching that particular token, which was a 90A. This is same as previous one, but it will first identify that whether the token is expired by time or not. Okay, because token will be having that information, and it is accessible to your Android or another client, Angular client. So first they will check that whether the token is valid or not by time, by other mechanism if we want to, and then if it is valid, then it will put that request to server. Server will actually again verify it, that whether the token is verified by time, and then they will check the signature. Okay, if it is valid, they will do the update query that is not in this database, but you can see for reading or validating that token, server do not have to rely on the database. So that request is saved, right? They do not have to touch the database for validating that particular token, and they will update the record. This time they will touch, but I have not explained into the diagrams. It will come back to your Android or Angular app. Second part is over. Now we can say, for example, normally token based authentication system, people are keeping that, okay, let us keep the 7 days as an expiration time. So here let us assume that there are some 7 days of expiration time for one token. On the third side, user is coming. Here it is one typo, but yeah, user is coming and they are saying that update my age from 21 to again something else. Okay, and now Android or Angular app will fetch that particular token because it was in their storage, and they will say, okay, but this token is expired by time actually, and user will be directly notified that your session is expired. Now this session is not that session, but session of the user, right? So it will say, okay, login again. So here request to server and that request to database is completely saved. Our Android or Angular app or any other app will have a sense that this is time expiration token and completely remove it. Is it making sense?
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let us see how it is possible with the JWT. Yeah, this is the structure of JWT. Okay, this is the actual JWT token. We will see how it is generated and how it is decoded, but this is the structure of JWT, and this is the first part. Or yeah, this header, claim set, a signature is divided with the dot. So first part is the header. We will have a dot. This one, this part, this one I have highlighted. This one is the claim set, and third one after this dot, this is the signature. Okay, so the header part we will call it JOAC header. You can just say header. This is the claim set, JWT claim set, and this is the JWT signature part. Okay, so I mean the header, this one, the claim set, and the signature are encoded into the base 64 URL. So it's like base64 URL JOSE header, base64 URL JWT claims, and base64 URL JWT signature. Okay. Let us see that what this token is actually. Okay. So I think and, this is pretty nice website. I'm going to demonstrate. Yeah. Are you able to see?
Yeah, it's not able to find the server. Okay.
No, it's fine now. Are you able to see
Hmm.
it?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So this is the okay. This is the debugger. Yeah, debugger of the JWT, and yeah. So it is pretty nice debugger, and we will see. This is I have copied my token. I'm pasting it over here, and this space I have to remove. Yeah. So you can see this pink part. Pink part is this one header. This purple part, this one, is the payload. And this blue part is the signature, right? So this token, and this is nothing. You can say the header part and payload part is open for all. So man in the middle, your Angular app, your server, Android app, any app will be able to see this header. What happened? Will be able to see this header, right? And payload is also open. So once you say base64 decode this purple part, you will be able to see this payload. Okay, and the signature is also base64 reversible. Okay, so everything is open. Now let me explain the header part. So yeah, I think yeah, it is making more sense when I explain that particular part. Type is the parameter. This type is the parameter which, so our this is the JOSE header part. Type will explain that what it is. We will say JWT. There is also JW. Uh, I think yeah. So JW, why type is there? Because it is also possible to have a two tokens like JWT and inside one another token as a JWT. So nested JWT is also possible, and that is why how they keep type, but type is completely optional. You cannot put type. That's highly valid. Second part is the algorithm part. So algorithm part is also optional, and it will tell you that which algorithm you have used to encrypt your token. Okay, it's for sign your token, not encrypt, actually for signing your token, and that is HS256 for signing your token. So this will tell that my this token is signed with this algorithm. Okay. Any doubts in header part?
No.
Okay. And Mr. Polra, do you have any doubts?
No, it all makes sense actually.
Okay. So I think yeah, I think let me try to explain and then let us come back to if you are having any doubts. Okay. And yeah, this is the claim set part. Now in the claim set part, we have one parameter in this token issuer. Issuer is optional, but the main part is the exp. So this highlighted part exp is the expiration time, and this is the Unix timestamp. Okay, so when I say expiration time, it means that the token itself will tell that I will expire on this time, right? So now is it making sense that every token is included with this, like, okay, this is my expiration time. So when I receive the token, my Android or Angular app already knows that for how much time this token is valid for, right?
Its timestamp starts with 1 3. That is really old, I suppose.
Yeah, that is really old because I just copied it with the standard, and
Ah,
that's all it is.
Is timestamp just UTC fix, is it, or?
Unix
It's
timestamp.
a Unix timestamp, but whatever format, yeah, Unix timestamp, and you can. So for example, how it will be like when I am generating a token from server side, I will say this token will be valid for next 7 days, okay, and then we will generate a timestamp for next 7 days, and we will send it to the client, okay, and that client will be able to then verify that this token is valid for this amount
Yeah,
of
but
time.
is the value just the milliseconds, is it, or what?
Yeah, I think Unix timestamp got changed with every second. Yeah, every second.
Yes, it is seconds. Number of seconds passed since
Yeah,
one point in time.
yeah.
Ah, okay. And
Okay.
right.
Yeah,
Also, Jason, I got a question.
yeah.
In header, you said it will be type.
It will be what type? Yeah, this one type.
In header, we specify yes, type algorithm, and I just decrypted this. Uh, the signature I have from my
Hmm.
server,
Hmm.
which is generated by AWS.
Yeah.
It also has one more uh, parameter called KID.
Yes. Okay. I think they might be okay. Let us go to the standard because I was reading that KID but not sure. Okay, so let us go to RFC 7519 because there are pretty much, and it is also possible that they are having their own one, right?
That is what I want to.
CTI? No. So KID is not there, but they are putting their own.
Okay.
Okay. Header parameter. You can say CTY is there, which is content type. Okay.
Hmm.
Just like the our own content type. So here, yeah, and so there are three type of claims. I am saying the category. First is the registered. Now, by means of registered, it means that the JWT standard itself tells the registered claims. Okay, so there are. Let us go back to RFC again. I hope it is visible, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is registered. So IAS is for issuer. Subject is also one another registered claim.
Hmm.
So in which we can define that what is the subject of the token. Completely optional. ISS is also completely optional. AUD is the audience claim, for which audience it is. It is also completely options. I mean, why these are there? Because you can see these are very related with the OAuth 2.0. And I'm disclosing that OAuth 2.0 is using JWT
Hmm.
for exchanging their tokens, right? So OAuth token and when you say JW token, both will look same, right?
Hmm.
But OAuth is designed for three part. Let us come to that particular point next layer. But when we say audience claim, it will making more sense. For example, for which audience it is assigned to, right? For example, your server, you can say that it is for server audience. For client, you can say this audience, and for you can verify. You can tell that this audience is this one. This is the expiration time. There is one another claim which is NBF, not before claim. So it is reverse from expiration time. When I say expiration time is for next 7 days, NBF is like the token will be valid after 3 days, not before that. right? So your client can say, okay, I have received this token, but this token will be valid after 3 days, not before that. Okay. So
Okay.
it is also one kind of security you can put for clock skew. You look, it is clearly written.
Uh,
And IAT is the issue date, because what time you had issued the token, right?
hmm,
You will say this token will be valid for next 7 days, but from where next 7 days, right? Unix
hmm.
time, it is making completely sense that it will be perfect date and time. But again, you can tell that okay, this token is assigned at that particular time. JTI is the JWT claim. Okay, so sorry, JWT ID. So if you are dealing with something, you can assign that this is the token ID 1, this is the token ID 2. For example,
Oh,
you are blacklisting your token, you will be able to identify that this token is having this ID, but completely optional. And so this is the registered claim. By means registered, you will find it everywhere. So if I am implementing JWT, registered claims are there. You are implementing, registered claims are there. There is one another category which is public. And for public, you have to go and register that particular claim with IANA. And another category is private. So for example, I am developing my own API. I will have to disclose that I am using isRoot parameter, and this parameter will tell that whether the user is root or not. Okay, so that isRoot is my private claim, and you can add whatever private claim you want to add. Okay.
okay, so that means I can do the role-based authentications in this.
Yes, yes, exactly. You can do role based authentication over here, right? So yeah, we are using isRoot parameter to separate the view for our Angular app. So for example, user is root. That means we want to display some more advanced views to them. If it is standard user, we will display something else, right? And
Hmm.
bear in mind, this claim set is open. So if you are thinking that we will put a user password as a one security into the token, you should not,
Hmm.
because it's open to all, right? And
Hmm.
because it's open to all, anybody can read that token information. So do not put sensitive information into your claim set.
Hmm.
Is it clear?
Hmm.
Yeah. Akash bhai, do you have any doubts? Hello, Akash bhai?
Hi, Jay.
Yeah. Do you have any
Yeah,
doubts?
now it's very straightforward actually.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah. So this is the last part, which is signature. And normally we use hash based signature. And I use SHA-256 algorithm HMAC to sign my token, and signature part is pretty nice. So now we can say for token based authentication system, we got a pretty nice overview that how it behaves. So it's like one is the header, one is the claim set, one is the signature. Three of them are stronger, and when three combines, it's like this one, very strongest token based authentication system, right? So let us see the demo. Uh, I have designed one. Okay, before that, this is the library I am using, PyJWT. If you want to use it, you can use it, PyJWT, this library. Okay, this library is, yeah, this library is here. This defines this interfaces, not interfaces, but we can say functions. I think, yeah, this is making more sense. Okay, so this is Python interpreter, and I have installed the pyjwt library, and we will see how it is actually behaving. Okay,
Hmm.
you can find your own implementation, for example in PHP and something else, Java. Every language pretty much have that library. What I am doing is the first part is importing JWT, and then I need some also time, and okay, this is time delta. I am also requiring this one. Now I am generating the payload. So payload is one dictionary. For example, let us let us say date in time dot now plus time delta of days. How much days you keep for allowing your token? I mean, how much it should be very for?
I keep for 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
My sessions expire in 15.
Okay. And this is, I'm saying is user is standard, say false. Okay, this is my custom claim.
Hmm.
So this is how our payload will look, and you can say this is 15-minute valid, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Now using I'm defining one key, and this is my private key, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
let us keep it 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now I am encrypting my token for generating the signature. So I will use jwt.encode payload. I have defined secret. I will give a key.
Hmm.
And it will by default, because it's the default parameter HS256, it will use it
Yes.
as algorithm, right?
Hmm.
So this is how I got my token. This is my token,
Okay.
right? I'm storing it. Token is equal to jwt dot encode payload and key, right? And you have to just directly return that this particular token in
Hmm.
return value. So now this is very first time when user is coming, you are telling, you are authenticating the username and password. That is right. And you generate a token for your user, right? Grab that particular token and you put a expiration time for next 15 minutes, you return it. So those now you have to just return this particular token. So this is your header part, this is your claim set part, and this is signature. Let us copy this token and put it here. I have tried to paste this particular token over here, and you can see it is the algorithm is H256. It's in the header. Type is JWT. It's in the header. EXP. Look, it's the Unix timestamp for next 15 minutes. This is my custom claim standard false. And this debugger is also telling invalid signature.
Yeah.
What
Because
was the, yeah, because
one,
key
two,
is
three,
not put
four,
there. What was key we had mentioned?
something like 1 2 3 4 or something.
2 3 4 5 6. And signature get verified. So
Hmm.
this is how it will work, right? Once you able, how you will verify that particular token with the secret key. So your secret key will be stored at the server side, and with that key you will be able to judge the whether the token is valid or not. So
Okay, so
let
now
us,
I have a question.
yeah.
How
So
do I know which user this thing belongs to? Do I need to make a map of it in the DB?
no, you do not have to create a copy of the key into the DB.
No,
Just
no,
in a
not the key.
so
No.
then
I
then
want to know to which user this token belongs.
yes, you what you have to do is that you keep a user ID in your payload, right?
Mm-hmm.
Claim, and when you are decrypting token, you will get that user ID from that token,
Hmm.
right? So it will be like once you are having user ID in the token,
Hmm.
you will be able to identify that for which user it is belonging to.
Okay. So is
And
Yeah,
because
so it's
cryptography
important that you
normally?
not put any
yeah,
sensitive information in the token, right? Otherwise, everyone will know.
yeah, but user ID is not sensitive because
Yeah,
and normally we will send a user ID to our client. Client also know that what is their user ID. In the
Uh,
URL parameter also we separate the user with their user ID. So I think user ID is making sense to make it public.
yeah, user ID is okay, but at the same time, it's important that the developers have to keep in mind, right? That it's
yes.
whatever you put in there is public, not
Yes. That is what I already told that you do not have to put sensitive information like your
yeah.
user password or anything else into your claim set.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And also, if I suppose change this user ID to 2, then signature won't match.
Yeah, signature will not match because it is signed with something another claim. So you will not
Hmm.
able to modify it. I am
Hmm.
giving you token, but you will not able to modify it. You will able to read it, but
Okay.
you will not be able to modify it, right? So now let us see how we will put the debug parameter, right? So this is the example when user is coming back with the
Hmm.
token. And now we want to verify that whether the token is valid or not. So we will say JWT dot decode and we will say token and we will put the key and it will be able to decrypt the token. See?
Enter wrong data now.
Yeah, I'm trying. The next was that one. So let us say the key is this one. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
it will generate a exception.
Nice.
Okay? So decode error, signature verification failed. So this is how we use it. Okay, now let us see. I have nice another examples. So this is JWT at Django. How we had tried to implement it. This is the view. Now view is very similar to MVC view and where we are. Okay. So here by means of this post method we have to assume that we will call this method when a post request is coming. Okay, and we are getting request.post.get. This is the username. Request.post.get. This is the password. So I have username and password, and then the server itself is defining one authenticate method. This is not imported here because I want to keep it short, but it is on the django.auth contrib.auth, and then you will get that authenticate method. What you have to do is you have to do username and password to this method. If it is correct, they will return you with the user. Okay, so if that this doesn't mean this is wrong, so your username and password is wrong, the user will not be returned. Okay, it will be only false. So we are checking that if user, it means it is user or not. If it is not, then we will return with the error as a invalid credentials and status is 400. Okay, if the user is correct, we are generating a payload, and in
Hmm.
the payload we are telling the ID that this is my user ID, user dot private key. Sorry, whatever say primary key, not private key, and
Hmm.
username is the user dot username. Staff is the user dot is staff. Okay, so whether the user is staff or not, and we are this is the my setting parameter. It is imported over here, but because of space I have kept it. So expiration time, whatever you want to set, you can set it over here. Now here it's a token. This is JSON.encode payload, and we are defining the secret over here as a key. Now this is JSON.dump, which will dump that particular token, and we are returning. So this is the authentication, or we can say exit login view, in which we are verifying that username and password is right or wrong, and we are returning the signed token, okay, signature token in the response. Do we have any doubts over here?
No.
Okay, so this is the Django methodology, but I think from orally what I have explained, if you don't have experience with the Django or Python, but still though you will be able to predict that what it is, how it is behaving, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so this is the what we did is I think, yeah, I found that writing middleware is making more sense. So in the Django there is one part called middleware. That middleware is called with every request and every response, right? So I have written one middleware. In the middleware I will check for the authorization header. Okay, if the header is there, we will decrypt the token. If token is valid, we will move next. If token is not valid, we will return from that particular middleware itself. So if you are sending me authenticated request with the authorization header, then I will check whether the token is valid or not. If don't, that middleware will not be called. Okay, so this is the middleware, and process request is the standard method that will be called on every request. So I will say self.get token method, and that get token method will be called request.meta.get HTTP authorization. That is standard way to get the authorization header in the Django. Or we are also accepting the URL. So URI query string parameter as a token. So you can also send as in the URI query string parameter, and then that token is here. Now we are decoding it with the payload. Okay, so what the payload is, if the payload is correct, this code is not necessary, but we are doing just to make it behave how the Django session works. Okay, so just Django session will put a request.user as a one object. So we are doing, but I'm thinking to remove it afterwards. But yeah, we will put a user object into the request object. Now, if the signature is not valid, we have already seen that it will generate an exception, right? JWT expired signature, and sometimes user is also not existing. That's also possible sometimes because user is not active. That is also one another case. Sometimes you already verified it, but you want to check it whether the user is active or not for another security reasons. So this is how you want to verify in your API. I don't have the experience with the PHP or whether they have the concept of middleware or not, but I think, yeah, they might have some pretty much nice way to observe every authenticated request. And this is making sense because if the user is having access to token, and they will send. If token is wrong, directly it will return. If it is right, we will move forward. So all the views which are into afterwards as authenticated one, they will be called directly, right? Uh, yeah. So here there are some points to remember. First point I will say is that let us assume the situation in which user is coming and for example, we had generated a token which is valid for next 15 minutes, right? And user is telling, okay, after 10 minutes, he is pressing log out. Okay. Now, during that, our Angular or Android app will remove that token from their local or session storage. But if someone is able to access that particular token, then for that leeway of 5 minutes, that token will be valid, even if user has pressed log out, right? So that time frame is open, and anyone can use that particular token for their new one, right?
So
So
basically, there is no concept of logout if we are using JWT.
there is what we do, but yeah, we can say that that's why it is mentioned that you have to keep a short time for your tokens. So, for example, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's fine for keep expiring your tokens, right? So, and then keep a very less value in the claim. So, for example, I am putting user address, user name, user role, many things into entire user object into the claimed set, but it is not valid. It is valid, but you should not. It is not a best practice because your token size will be increased,
Yeah.
and that will get some time to transfer over a network, right? So
Hmm.
you have to keep a very lean information into your token, so it is very much fastly transferred over the network. It is not making very time. Third point is to the secret key. I found, yeah, that secret key is you have to keep it changed. Normally 6 months is fine to update your secret keys and to
So
then
for signing, we are using that RS256, right?
it is not RS25,
HS.
HS5256. It is not already one algorithm. There are plenty. You can use RS256, you can use HS256, and there are many other also.
Hmm.
So whatever you like, you use. So yeah, you have to periodically update your secret key, and you have to keep your own precautions to make not accessible your secret key. Okay, it is your responsibility to store your secret key at a very secure place because it's secret key, right? So yeah, I have already explained JWT claims, registered, public, and private. These are issuer, sub, audience, not before. Public claim names, private claim names. There are some similar technologies also, like simple web token. JSON simple sign is another one in which you will be able to use. I do not have experience, but in the yeah, I have searched and this technology is also used. And I think yeah, we might have question that why not OAuth 2.0. So what I know is that I have tried to implement OAuth a couple of back years, and I found that OAuth is designed for three parties. One is the resource owner, one is the resource protector, and one who wants to read that particular information, right? Three parties. So for example, Facebook is the resource protector. We are the resource owner, user, and another app like Tinder, for example, is the app who want to actually use that particular information of this one, right? But uh, if we are having a special scenario in which we do not want to allow, we do not have to use, we do not want a user to log in from Facebook or something else, and we only want to authenticate our own user, they might sign up from our own page, and then how we want to do. So for that reason, I will strongly prefer the JWT because it is very enough. For OAuth, you have to depend on some libraries, and you want to depend on something which will keep increasing your load. And OAuth also have to stored into database, so it will be very lean for just you and your users. Okay, that is the biggest advantage. Don't go with OAuth if you do not have any special advantage of that. So yeah, you can find the slides on this URL, ultimatecoder.github.io slides.jwt. This might be get updated because I update my slides with the user and with the talk, but on the repository side you will be able to get it with the branch's name. Okay, these are the references, and I am stopping my screen now. So yeah, I think we can now have a Q&A session, and let me ask you what are your questions, and what you want to ask me. The Saurav didn't join, I think. Still, I'm not able to see
Yeah.
him. Might be he don't have the we can say link of what. So yeah, you can ask me questions. Mr. Bola, are you here?
Yes, so I
Okay.
have only one question, Jay. And
Yeah,
first
yeah,
of all, thank you because
yeah,
it's a very interesting technology and very useful also.
yeah,
So thank you for the session.
yeah,
My question is, how we discussed that we can use the user, we can send the user ID and other information in the token that we want to
yeah,
send.
yeah.
So in that format in the payload, what
Hmm.
is the attribute there where we can are are we allowed to add any attributes we want in that payload, or are there specifications from
Yes.
the?
Yeah. So there are three type of payload values, right? By means of type, I'm not telling the values. First, there are three categories. First category is the registered. So, for example, exp is the registered claim, right? So, as a key parameter, you want to put it, because if you will not put, you will not able to put expiration time, right? And that is, like, I will say that that should be. So you can say, let me do my expiration time as one another parameter, but as a standard practice, not, because if you are expanding in future as your API, then registered claim will be known to everyone. So for example, I am new for using your API, just like the one is using AWS as an API. The one will find exp as a standard parameter. He knows that that should be into the uh, AWS token. And if I have my API, I can also use that exp as a standard claim, right? So that
Hmm.
is how you want to use that particular standard claims. Another category is private. So in private, you can do anything, any of the parameter you want to use, right? So for that private claim, you have to tell your Android app developer or any other developer who is consuming this API that this can be the private claim I am providing at my API level,
Okay, so
right?
then I
Because
can
it is,
put any JSON attribute
yeah,
in.
yes,
Okay.
any JSON attribute you want. The is root was a custom attribute by me, so it was not into the standard, but it was custom attribute like is root.
Okay.
Username is also custom attribute. It is not in the standard.
Yeah.
Expiration time is exp is standard attribute,
Yeah.
right? So it's like whatever you want to put in your JSON payload, you will be able to put it, and but you have to document it so that other who is consuming this API will know. And you do not have to document these standard claims. For example, exp or nbf is the standard claim, so you don't have to document it because it will be it is already defined and everyone knows what it means.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, the one. Do you have any other doubts?
No.
Have you said no or
No, yes, I said no.
Okay. Okay. So I think I should thank you for affording your Sunday morning. And I will say, yeah, it's the most precious morning for us. We do not have some gap, and I'll say, yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining me, having this session.
Thank you.
I strongly recommend to point out the faults you observed into this session, and that will be able to improve myself, whatever mistakes I did, and whatever information, if I was unclear or I was more clear or that was not required, that is also highly, I think, encouraged from your side to just guide me that whether I was right or wrong, or what mistakes I did, if there are any, according to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was a great session. So thank you, Jay.
okay, bye, bye. Have a nice day. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.